knows how you come across somebody once in a while you shouldn't have messed with. That's me.
I am not an African American.
You're Oreo cookie, white in the inside and black on the outside.
I don't have an afro, I have an Amerifro.
Talking that idiotic stuff you talk about, I will slap you.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Black at the ace of spades, but 100% American.
Heard around the world by everybody and their mama. The Jesse Lee Peterson Radio Show.
Uniting the races with truth instead of dividing them with lies. We're also rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man. Good morning. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being with me. Dr. Seen will be here the third hour today. Every Thursday, the doctor is here, and he will be here to answer your questions and comments about your health issues, food, what to eat and not to eat, what medicines to take and not to take. In the third hour today, you don't want to miss it. Email, Facebook, comments, and tweets are coming up in the second hour today, folks. Lots of good ones. There's been a lot of talk about race in America, especially lately with all this stuff happening with Donald Sterling, the LA Clippers owners. And we have talked about it. We've played sound bites from it. I have with me Dean Kevin R. Johnson. He is UC Davis School of Law Dean, and he said some interesting things about race in America concerning Donald Sterling and others. And we have him on today to kind of explain to us what he means and what's going on with the race issue in America. Kevin Johnson is Dean of UC Davis School of Law. Dean Johnson is Professor of Public Interest Law and Professor of Chicana and Chicano Studies. He has taught on immigration law, Latinos, and the law, and critical race theory. He has written books and articles on racial identity, immigration law, and civil rights. Kevin, good morning, sir. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Jesse. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you being here. I want to play this. I'm sorry. Go to soundbite. Let's see here. One there, Andre B. I want to play this soundbite. You said that it shows we have a long way to go in civil rights. When this whole thing happened with Donald Sterling, and I just want to know, what do you mean by that? Okay, here it is. Hold on a moment.
New tonight, the dean at UC Davis School of Law says the Sterling controversy is a reminder to all of us that there are people who still hold racist views.
I think it's a reminder to us all that we still have a lot of work to do when it comes to civil rights and civil rights progress, and that the job is not going to be done in this generation or maybe the next.
He says improving race relations and truly wiping out bigotry will likely take a long time.
Amazing. Kevin, what did you mean by that?
Well, I mean, really what I meant was pretty simple. And I think that the Donald Sterling thing is will be forgotten relatively soon. And it's not altogether surprising to many people that a prominent white man with much money would say discriminatory things. But my point was basically is that there are people like Donald Sterling in our society, and we have some work to do in terms of eradicating discrimination, educating people about their views of African Americans, Latinos, and other groups. And I think that this is just a reminder that there are some people out there with some very antiquated views about who should be seen with whom and what's appropriate and what's not when it comes to race relations. I didn't mean to say anything that deep or startling, really. Just that this is a reminder that there's still work to be done.
You just said it's not a surprise that prominent white men like Donald Sterling think that way. Are you saying that all white men who are prominent, most of them, are racist?
No, not at all. I do think that a lot of people have biases, but I don't think most white folks are racist. I don't think most of any kind of folks are racist. I think that there are some who are, and there's some people who express views that they might not even view as racist, but others may view as unfair and stereotypical in some ways. But no, I certainly would never want to suggest that, because I think most people are people of good faith, and I think that we have come an incredibly long way in the last 50 years in terms of race relations and racial understanding. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that it was unlawful in Virginia for an African American and a white person to marry, and that law was struck down by the Supreme Court and is long gone. And I'd be the last person to say that we haven't made progress.
So what did you mean when you said that you're not surprised by white men like Donald Sterling? What did you mean if you're not implying that or saying that most white men who are wealthy are racist?
No, I meant to say that there are some people who are racist in our society, and we haven't ended that. And to hear some kinds of statements like that is not entirely a surprise to me.
I want to ask you, you write about civil rights. I could never figure out what are civil rights. What are civil rights?
Yeah, I think that sort of the standard conventional way of looking at them would be rights to equality, humanity, and respect and inclusion in society. And I think in some ways the entire civil rights movement was a response to laws in the South, but also in the North, Jim Crow laws that artificially segregated society based on race, particularly African Americans and whites.
So it's based on race. So you would agree with me then that homosexuality is not a civil right?
Well, I think it may be another kind of right, and it could be viewed as a civil right. But I don't think civil rights are bound to just race relations. I think that you could argue that many different groups have different kinds of civil rights, but and they're different. Actually, they're different for different groups. So do you
agree with me, though, that homosexuality is not a civil right? It's not about love. It's not about family. It's not about civil rights. It's about sex.
Well, but I think that relationships...
Do you agree with me, yes or no, on that?
I don't think so, no. I think it's more complicated than that.
How is having sex with the same sex a civil right?
Well, I think that relationships and the intimacy of private relationships that are immune from state intervention is an important facet of individual identity. And I think that people who believe in rights and the Constitution believe that there is a sphere of privacy for individuals to create and have the kinds of intimate relationships.
But who is preventing them from doing that? They can do that. No one cares.
Yeah, I mean, well, although some people do, and some people don't want to recognize...
I mean, people care as long as they don't impose it on others. But I want to go back to another point. Civil rights, shouldn't Mr. Sterling have the right to say how he feels about black people and others in the privacy of his own home?
I think he does. He has that right.
Then why did the people attack him once this woman recorded him and it got out there? Why was he called racist and attacked? If he has the right, why didn't they respect his right rather than try to destroy him?
Well, I think people have a right to say what they want to say, and people have a right to criticize what other people say as well.
So why was he? No, they tried to destroy him. They didn't just. They didn't just criticize him.
Yeah, I mean, the NBA is a private association, and so they have the power to decide who they want to associate with.
But they only did it because the media and the blacks went after him. It wasn't just the NBA doing it.
No, I think you're exactly right in this respect, that the NBA responded to public pressure, to a negative public reaction. And I think at some level there was a perception that unless some decisive action was taken in a quick fashion, there's going to be a loss of business for the league. So I understand what you're saying, and Donald Sterling certainly has the right to say what he has to say, and the NBA has the right to decide who it wants to associate with, too.
Let me take a quick break. 888-775-3773. Back in a moment.